Let's have a look at the generic use cases of AI. And there's a couple of frameworks I want to share, sort of variations on a theme. And the first one I want to do is just one that we've compiled ourselves at TDI. And we've identified 8 different areas of use cases for AI. I'm sure it's not comprehensive. I'm sure we'll be adding a few more as we go forward. What I thought I'd do is share that framework with you, with just some very basic high-level examples. So the first use case is on image detection. So, well-known use cases around how we can start using images, for example, of damage to cars, which allows us to identify costs of repair, potentially identify fraud, waste and abuse early as well. The second area, the use of IoT and sensors, is really how we can start using data from sensors to create insights to help us to reduce risks. So an example would be sensors that allow us to identify flooding earlier and take appropriate action. The third area is around expert systems, and obviously as AI is developing, as our skills and knowledge in this area is developing, it's allowing us to provide more and more advice to professionals. So classic use cases that we're now seeing coming through, obviously in the area of underwriting, where AI-assisted tools are already providing experienced underwriters with insights and suggestions that help them to do their job better and also to do their job more efficiently. The fourth area is around marketing, targeted marketing, the ability to identify from the data that we have on customers what a customer might like. So next best actions is a classic example. Customer sentiment is another area. And this is a very rich area that can allow us to effectively, with more precision, to provide the right offer at the right time and at the right place to customers, which obviously will help us in terms of revenues, but also help in terms of increasing customer satisfaction. The fifth area is around pricing and risk identification. I think there's still quite a long way to go in terms of using additional data sources in pricing, and there's some conservatism, I suppose, and rightly so, around just understanding the cause and effect of data and being sure that these are real pricing variables. But what we're already seeing is how AI can help us to identify certain risks, so looking at data on a meta basis and being able to identify certain groups and types of customers that present certain types of risks that we either may want to take or we may want to avoid. The sixth area, fraud, waste and abuse, and also compliance, is a very fertile one. There's been a lot of work already done in this area where we can start using AI and train the AI against the fraud cases that we've already identified to look at those patterns to come up with, if you like, fraud red flags, so that when claims come through, an experienced user will be flagged that this is a potential fraud case, and obviously will then take appropriate action to look at that case more closely. And obviously the converse applies where you can use AI and say looks like it's a low risk of fraud, and then you can fast track that claim as well. And we won't go into compliance, but clearly there's a whole area where AI can help in areas like KYC, AML as well. So the seventh area that we have in our framework is on customer engagement, particularly around virtual assistants, so AI-enabled chatbots, which increasingly are able to interact with customers to provide them answers much more quickly, much more efficiently than you can with a human-assisted chatbot. And obviously, what's an interesting area there is how AI and human are coming together. So what's the handoff from the AI to the human in that sort of omni experience? And we're certainly starting to see, I think, a little bit of change on where the interfaces are. So traditionally we'd say an interface is typically been on the desktop, web-related, and moving to mobile. Now I think we're obviously seeing that moving to text and chat, and obviously to voice as well. And AI is a very, very good tool that's helping to drive, if you like, that trend as well. And then the last area, which is also very, very rich, is, broadly speaking, process reinvention, which I'd also call sort of product reinvention as well. And obviously, as we see, I guess that meta trend of how do we reduce risks and how technology can help to reduce risks for customers, how we can pull that together to provide new products and services. So an example in that area would be the use of AI, for example, in medical triage, so a customer can go online, put in their symptoms, get some advice from the AI, and then get pointed to the correct doctor network. And obviously insurers are already active in implementing that type of technology. So those are the 8 kind of generic use cases that we have.